morning. It's Viewpoint, the program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. And we certainly have a perspective this morning and certainly a nice personality.
Yes. We're not talking about me, by the way.
Oh, well, that's where I was leading to. Golly sakes.
I just want to make that perfectly clear.
Ms. Jensen, we always try to start out the Viewpoint with a kudo or two. Something that some organization or individual that makes contributions to the community and so forth. Now, I'm going to relate this kudo to our workplace this morning. You know, I think it might be appropriate. Sometimes you stand in a forest and can't find a doggone tree.
This is most certainly true.
Well, you know, you and I come in here every Wednesday and do our gig, and then stick around a few minutes and do the recording of the Sunday morning show. And nothing happens till somebody makes it happen, you know. Well, by golly, the big guy here, the Gordon Jump of WKRP in Cincinnati.
Did you like that?
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Oh, I love that show so much.
Well, you know, we've got a Gordon Jump right here at WLCN. And, you know, it might not be inappropriate, or it would be appropriate to take our hat off to old Jim Ash. You know, he shows up here every morning faithfully at God knows what hour in the morning. I mean, it's really early. And he's here till late in the evening. He does all the producing and the engineering, the sound mixing. He cleans the toilet. He opens the door for the cat. I mean,
and other duties is assigned.
He's just ubiquitous. You know, he does it all around here.
He do.
So we'll take our hat off to Jim. A little kudo to him this morning.
Besides that, he's pleasant. I think that's most appropriate.
Yeah, I can get several people who would attest to that.
He's a good
Not everybody,
boss.
but most people would.
He's a good
Well,
boss.
hey, why don't you introduce our guest this morning?
I don't want to yet. First, I want to gripe.
Oh, hold it for the guest for just a few minutes, if you will, April. Just be patient. You may go out and go to the restroom or get a cup of coffee or whatever, but Judy's going to carry on for her
Just
now.
talk among yourself, April.
All right, go right ahead.
I was very torqued on Saturday when I read the Lincoln Courier. I was eager to see in print a letter that my daughter had written.
I read the original, by the way.
Yeah. As you know, she's very articulate.
Yes, she is.
And she's always had a gift for being able to put down on paper what she thinks and feels. And she wrote a letter to the editor, and it was published. And I don't know whether the guy was on overtime and tired or something, but it was just one long run-on sentence, no punctuation, a word omitted hither and yon that changed the whole tenor of the thing, and since ended up looking not too bright.
It was
and I was, you know, you can say anything you care to me or about me. Fine, no problem. But every mother in the world, you'll attest to this, is a mother bear.
taking care of her cubs.
Don't mess with the kids. That's not kosher. And I was just very upset because it really didn't make her look too bright. I'm sorry. So that I'm venting.
Well, you're entitled to do that because your chick was wounded because they did not publish it as was submitted to her, and as a consequence, they take parts here and parts there and move them around. And it's not exactly the way she said it. And I read the original, and I said to my wife, who also agreed immediately, this is very well written. So you were right.
Yeah, so I was sad about that. Okay. Well, enough of that. Now I'd like to introduce April Jensen.
Well, you have some things you want to talk about, though, first, some quotations?
I do, but I'll save those for later because I don't want to be too rude to April, you know.
Oh, yeah, well, she's
friends
here to do a job.
long
Okay,
time.
well, get on with it then.
I don't want to ruin that. April, I've known since she was a little girl. April Jensen lives right down Peoria Street from the rest of us, and she is at the library annex, has been now for a bit. She absolutely loves it, and she's such an asset to them because April is just forever pleasant. I don't think April ever gets torqued like I do. She's a wonderful girl and very knowledgeable. And we're going to talk about the summer program at the library that they've really got going in capital letters this summer, and the joys to be found in the library. You know, April, I genuinely feel awfully sorry for anybody who doesn't like to read. You know, you just have no idea. I take my book, I go to my happy place, and I read, and I just feel
That's characters.
good. Or the class house.
That's her happy place.
My happy place with my book. And I think everybody should take their book to their happy place. You do pretty good land office business there, I dare say. I've never come in when it's been, when I've been alone in there.
Yeah.
No.
We're doing very well. Our circulation has been up and it's slowly glowing, and a couple months ago we had our best non-summer reading program month, which is absolutely fabulous. So if anybody thinks people aren't reading anymore, it's completely false.
I was just coming in or out when the children started to come for a children's time. And my word, they were coming in droves. It was so nice to see.
Yeah.
That didn't just happen, though. That didn't just happen. April mentioned the fact that, their activities continue to grow. The reason they continue to grow is the staff and the management at our library.
Right.
It's not just a building with the doors open for people to come. They do a real good job of innovating new programs for adults as well as children. I go back. You'll find this hard to believe, but I used to go to the library a lot when I was a little shaver, and then happily that fun of reading carried through. And just yesterday, I decided it was a nice afternoon. I went to my little modest library and picked up a book, sat down and read on the deck for 2 hours. So those are.
Yes.
I only mention that because when you start that at an early age, that kind of carries over.
We have an amazing youth services department, and they are wonderful with kids and teenagers as well. We have teenagers that one yesterday, her mom checked out her book and she's like, "Give me the book, give me the book, give me the book," and it was great to see. And we also have some tweeners. He was probably about 11, and we ordered a book for him, and he was literally jumping for joy when it came in because he was just so excited to see this book and to get it. And it's the best feeling in the world is when a child is coming in and they're getting a book. And
Doesn't
and they're
that
just
kind of
excited.
warm the cockles of your heart
Oh,
to
yeah.
see this little
Well, it's
boy
kind of the best
be
show in town
excited?
in that genre. It really is. Now,
Yeah.
tell me, just a real quick aside. When Johnny Adams comes in and wants a book about aviation or farming or whatever, these kids, when they come into there, do they know about how to look those books up in the Dewey Decimal System, or can somebody even spell Dewey?
I can. Actually, when it was,
Well, you go to the top of the
It
class.
wasn't Tom Dewey either, I can tell you that.
No.
or
they know
Admiral.
a little bit about it, but our staff really educates them, and they also learn about it in school. So they have an idea, and they know how, we just kind of show them how the library is, the children's services, youth services is set up slightly different. They have things in different areas and so forth. So, but they're nonfictions by Dewey Decimal System, and they show them, and eventually they do kind of figure it out.
Well,
You
in my
know-
day, we used papyrus and clay tablets, of course. Yeah. So,
Were
Still
you
have
the
some of
guy
that.
who was carving that menu on television?
by the way, a quick aside, do you have any, I didn't know this either until I kind of Googled it up. Thank God for internet when you want to get something found out. You know, when this first library, you know that when it first started?
Our library in Lincoln?
No, not ours, but
Oh.
the
Carnegie
library per se.
system?
No, just,
Oh.
just
the library per
just
se?
just
Okay.
the word library. Do you know when that first came out?
Probably in Greek times, based on the word.
Yeah, 2600 BC, according to the
bibliotech.
information I got. That was amazing.
There's
26
always been a Most of the time, there's always been a
Imagine
library.
these little guys carrying
It's not
back
the
their little
oldest
clay
profession.
tablets back in the stacks.
You know, I've had so many people tell me that they got a Kindle or some reasonable facsimile thereof, but it's just not the same as turning a page. Do you hear people tell you that?
Yeah, we have a lot of people, especially after Christmas. We had lots of people coming in going, "Here, I have this. I don't know what to do with it." And it's a nice, for lack of a better word, gateway into reading, because they're getting to read, and you can download library books on a Kindle or any type of e-reader. So if you come in, we can also help you with that. But it's a great gateway type of reading, because they start reading, and the ebooks is not, that catalog is not the same as what we have, and not every book is available in e-form. And they start reading, and they find an author. Well, then they want to see everything by that author. So then they're coming in, and they get it, and then they want to get everything in that genre. So then they start branching out, and it's really nice. So they're reading, and as long as they're reading, I mean, I think that's great. It really does get them to read other things. And e-readers are great in some forms, because some people can't physically hold a book anymore, and they can make the font huge, and they can still read. And
That's a blessing, isn't
yes.
it?
And some e-readers, you can download ebooks or audiobooks as well, so they can still listen to a book. And we also have a large selection of audiobooks. So we have over 1,400 titles, I think,
I've had
On
so many.
audiobooks?
on audiobooks. And if
Uh-huh.
there's an audiobook you want that we don't have, or any book in general, we can find it for you.
Talk about that Rolling Prairie Library.
Well, we used to be part of Rolling Prairie Library System, which was a conglomerate of... Richard's going to kill me, because he told me, I think around 150
Quite a few.
library, 260 libraries. And due to budget cuts, the Rolling Prairie Library System is no longer around. It's been consolidated, and we are now part of Illinois Heartland Association, or Illinois Heartland Library System. And it's actually the southern states. So we are now part of a larger system, and that will eventually make our ability to get library books, times by 4. So we're going to go
Yeah.
from 250 libraries to over 500 libraries that we can get materials from. So, I mean, it's just a major plus for our patrons.
Tell me, April, when a client comes in to your library and you don't have a book in stock, let's just use, well, for instance, the book Unbroken,
Okay.
which I finally got around to reading. It was a fascinating story. But let's say you didn't have that in stock. And how long would it take you to get that from some other library?
It depends. Sometimes it can be as short as a couple of days,
Uh-huh.
and can be as long as however long it takes for somebody to read the book. So you can put in a request, come in the library, put in a request for Unbroken. We do have that. But if it's out and we put in a request for Unbroken for you, whatever library in the former Rolling Prairie Library System has it available, you get it. So it's kind of a lottery system, but the wait time can be pretty short. If it's on the shelf, it's roughly around a week if all things are...
Not bad.
Oh,
Yeah, if all things considering, if, in the perfect world, only about a week. So.
That's not so bad.
But it also depends on how, staffing and other libraries and all of that fun stuff. But we have an amazing system set up where it's a delivery system, and you can get a library book within the system. And also we get library books from all over the state. So if we don't have it and it's out of the system, out of the former Rolling Prairie Library System, we can request it from anywhere in the state or in the United States as well. So through an OCLC library system. OCLC.
As the young people come for the summer programs at the library, do you find that once they kind of get their feet wet there and are introduced to books, that pretty soon they're eagerly checking them out?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, some kids are, they come in because their mom is an avid reader, and they're like, I don't want to read. But then they might get hooked on graphic novels, formerly known as comic books, or something else. But then they just start reading, and then they just kind of start reading all the time. So, and that's a very nice thing.
This is going to come as a terrible go ahead, excuse
No,
me.
you tell me what's going to come as a shock.
A terrible shock.
Try and shock me.
Try and shock. Well, that's somewhat of a smart aleck remark, but it's still true, I think. It's going to come as a terrible shock to find that there are things that you can't find on television and that you do better by finding them in a book. And granted that there are certain categories of books out there that borderline what you see day by day on television at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that you have no business seeing. And they went there and they did that for 20 minutes. So, an inside story there. But seriously, somebody who avails themselves of the use of our library, and if they start that at a young age, and then they get to be a geezer like me, they still enjoy reading. And if you can plant that idea early, so if you get these little whippersnappers and rugrats away from the boob tube and get them into reading books, it's a big thing.
Oh gosh, yes.
I interrupted you, not about it.
That's okay. That's okay. I
I
have
had to
flight ideas
pontificate a
anyway.
minute,
Well, we have a lot of people. I worked at the library in the 90s when I was going to college, and I worked in the children's room. And there's a lot of children that are now adults that are still coming in, and so it's kind of funny. They come in and they see me behind the desk at the annex, and they're kind of going, I know you. And it's just kind of funny because they're now grown-ups, and they're bringing and some of them are bringing their children in, and they're just passing that on, and that's very nice. It's great, and it's nice to keep seeing the same people and new people all the time. So,
One thing at the library that is always, I think, such a blessing for the community is, for instance, in Elkhart, they're going on the 15th, isn't that right? They're going to be having one of their programs, and it's going to be on Edwards Trace, and you have dinner, and then you hear a speaker, and they're very wonderful programs, but, they kind of whet your appetite for Edwards Trace. Now, you can go to the library, and if you aren't a personal friend of the Dewey Decimal System, you can ask the library people to help you find something you want to read more about the
definitely.
Edwards Trace. That wouldn't be any problem at all.
No, not at all. If we have a great research or reference librarian, Caroline Keast, and she can find stuff, and if she can't find anything, Richard Summerall, our director, he's fabulous. He can find things that you really didn't even know existed, and he just kind of goes to it and finds it, and
In his own inimitable fashion.
it's just amazing.
Richard is just plain bright. He
Yeah,
can't
we
help
want to
it.
take a minute before our commercials. It's just talk a second or two about Richard and what he has meant to our community as our chief, as our librarian. It just goes about his job in a professional, quiet way. But we're accomplishing an awful lot.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you have a great staff. I have
Oh,
to
yeah.
take my little hat off to you, to the staff that you have there.
Yeah,
And we're just lucky. And before we take the break, I just wanted to make a comment, Judith and April. Any community who has a librarian, no matter how small, take our whistle stop over there. Donna Glass has done that over
Yes,
Emden.
bless her heart.
Right up the line here in Jim's hometown, Atlanta, Elkhart. Anybody that has even a modest library, the community is richer for that. So at this point in time, I think we'll take a little commercial break, and we're going to get right back with April Jensen.